Hello, I'm Rivers Rogers, and me and my partner, Adriana Jack, did our biogeochemical cycle on the phosphorus cycle. Oops. In the phosphorus cycle, our reservoir is different from other cycles. We're not in the atmosphere or in the ocean. Instead, we're in the Earth's crust, also known as sedimentary, because phosphorus comes from different types of rocks. We've got igneous, metamorphic, and most importantly, sedimentary rocks. The phosphorus is stored within inside the rocks, and then from there, the rocks weather and the cycle begins. But our reservoir is most importantly in the Earth's crust, where the whole transportation takes place. Our organisms involved in the phosphorus cycle. We have producers, which are the plants that absorb phosphorus through their roots. We have animals that eat the phosphorus, and the phosphorus moves up the food chain, making so the phosphorus comes from the plants, and then the animals eat the plants, and the phosphorus moves on to them. And then the next step would be our decomposers, which obtain the phosphorus as they feed on the decomposed animals, because phosphorus stays within the body, even though they've long past have eaten it and the body has digested the food. The phosphorus still stays within the body. So the decomposers then take the phosphorus. And we also have humans that are involved in the phosphorus cycle. And humans use fertilizer that has phosphorus, and they also have food production that moves it around that way and into human bodies as well. But fertilizer is a big part that's in the soil. Up next, we have the path of our phosphorus cycle. There's 5 steps total. So the first step, and you can see in our little picture here, we have weathering, and phosphorus originates from weathering rocks, most importantly sedimentary rocks. So over time, with usually rain, it will beat at the rocks, releasing some phosphorus that can go down and go into the water with weathering and erosion. And some animals can take it, and it can go into the soil, is the main attribute. The plants absorb then the phosphorus from the soil, which is step 2, where the producers absorb the phosphorus. Step 3 is we have animals that eat the producers that then get the phosphorus. So you can see we have the weathering, erosion into the water, and then it's absorbed into the soil, and the plants then gather the phosphorus, which goes right over to the animals. And then our 4th step is the animals then would decompose, which goes right back into the soil, and the decomposers then obtain all the phosphorus from the animals in that whole cycle so far, and that can also go right back into the plants and the animals. But also we have step 5, where phosphorus, step 5 is that it goes back into the soil and then repeats, but we also have humans that use fertilizer and other forms that phosphorus can move around. But these are the main important steps of the phosphorus cycle. The biometrics of the phosphorus cycle, we have our providers, which, because of the wind and the rain, it erodes the phosphate-rich rocks, and the rivers carry the gravel and slits of water. They carry the gravel with the chunks of rocks to like a larger body of water. But our providers would be the rocks from the mountains. And we also have our decomposers that break down the plant and animal matter into the soil, causing the cycle to repeat again, which is one of the most important steps. The essential organisms from the phosphorus cycle are 1, DNA, because as everyone knows, DNA has 3 basic compounds, and one of them is phosphate. The second essential essential thing to organisms, I guess, is ATP, that's special energy, and it has 3 phosphate groups. 1, 2, 3. Because the ATP, the P in ATP stands for phosphate. And then we have our lipids. Phosphorus is very important for lipids, especially when you're dealing with a phospholipid bilayer, which you can see right here, it's a close-up, is all phosphates. And right here in the cell, it makes up that special membrane that it needs, and that phospholipid bilayer encases it all, which is, of course, very essential for life. All 3 of these things, we have DNA, that's in us, and it's also RNA too, but we just put DNA here. So DNA, which is in all of us, we need that, very important. We have ATP, which brings so much energy and is what keeps our bodies and other forms of life going. And of course we have our lipids that are, of course, this special backbone to life that we couldn't be here without them. So these all 3 are very essential organisms to the phosphorus, and we owe it all to the phosphorus cycle. And then here we have our citations. Thank you.